What's up, my D&D family? Today I have a bit of a different kind of video for you. I am going to be tackling the Wolves of Langston, which is a solo campaign murder mystery adventure. I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of show you guys a more raw version of me putting together a character, given my limitations, kind of how I go about my process. So I expect this video to be more raw than normal, less structured. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the journey. Let's get into it. Let's start off with our limitations. The book specifies that we want to be a level 1 or level 2 character, and we can design them really however we want, so long as it's raw. So I kind of think about this as, do I want to play on hard mode, or do I want to play on less hard mode? Of course, being level 1 is going to be harder than level 2, but also by being level 1, we do restrict a lot of our build options. So the first question we have to answer is, are we going to be level 1 or level 2? I like the idea of making this as challenging as possible for me, so I've decided to go with level 1. Now with that restriction, I'm going to start looking at the classes and kind of think about what I want to go for, also keeping in mind that I do want an investigator flavor of some sort, so every class I'm going to be mixing with that idea. Let's take a look. Alright, so we have the first level artificer. They don't have much in the way of control, but they do have some options for dealing with crowds. They have medium defenses with the medium armor, and then constitution saves isn't going to come big into play, I imagine. Okay, I think artificer could work, and also it does go into the investigator idea because our skill naturally going along with investigation. Next up we have barbarian. Barbarians come in pretty strong. Our HP would go way further than anybody else's. I believe we come with javelins because we're going to have to be using our starting equipment, so we do have some options for range. I think barbarian could be really strong coming in. Next we have bard. Level 1 bard. I can pretty safely say that level 1 bard is not going to cut it for a solo adventure. We're going to be really squishy and have very low offense, and when we're solo fighting a bunch of people, I don't think bard is the answer for what I'm going to try and make high difficulty. Next we have the cleric. The cleric has some potential, especially because we get the first level subclass. Something like war domain, which is usually not that strong at first level, basically gets extra attack a couple times throughout the day. Can be really big with a big weapon. Cleric does stand out as definitely an option. On the skill side, we could focus in on it with something like the knowledge domain cleric, but we would be sacrificing some of our attack power. Dealing with crowds would be an issue for us. We do have the ability to do a lot of damage to single targets, which probably will come into play quite a bit. Something like inflict wounds or guiding bolt. And on top of that, we do come with wisdom save proficiency. Cleric's looking pretty strong. Druid, similar problem to bards. It would be a struggle at first level unless we do very specific lineages like Turtle, and I don't want to be locked into a lineage in that way, so I'm not thinking druid. Fighters coming strong. We're not going to have wisdom saves. We're not going to be able to deal with crowds, but there is a lot of flexibility of what we can do with a fighter, so fighters could work. Monks are surprisingly good first level because they have pseudo extra attack. Even though it's only a d4 plus change, it's still better than what anybody else can pull off. Where monks really start separating and start getting weaker than everyone else is when feats come into play, because feats are designed to work with not monks. It works with everyone else, but really feats aren't meant for monks at all. So I think a monk could work. Paladins are generally considered very well rounded the deeper we go into them. As a standalone, they have healing, they have armor, they have health, they eventually have fantastic saves on everything, so they are extremely well rounded once they hit level 6. Until then, they're not the most well rounded. We're going to really struggle with ranges, and we're struggling with the issue that we're so much stronger at level 2 than we are at level 1. Kind of just makes more sense to go fighter than it is to do level 1 paladin. I think rangers could have very well have been my second level choice. Great at single target damage, have options for multiple targets, fantastic ranges across the board, decent saves. At level 1, they're just kind of a weaker fighter. Rogue, you might think of the Inquisitive right away, but rogues really struggle with being solo because they need to set up their sneak attack, and I know that the Inquisitive could set up their own sneak attacks, but then we run into the fact our AC isn't great. We run into the fact that we don't have cunning action yet, so if someone's next to us, we can't just run away. We can't bonus action hide. We're just really not ready. Could probably pull off rogue if we went to level 2, but not level 1. Sorcerer and Wizard I'm going to put into the same category because they are very similar at level 1. Sorcerer has the advantage of having a subclass feature that comes with it, but overall we're going to be doing the same thing. We have strong moments, but being solo, we're not going to have the resources to go on a whole adventure alone. We're going to run out of those spell slots, and then we're kind of dead in the water. And those spell slots are really required for us to be able to have any survivability. There is no one to take aggro for us. We will have 100% of that aggro 100% of the time. I don't think Sorcerer and Wizard are going to cut it. Warlock could absolutely work if I go Hexblade, which I'm not willing to do. I just feel like Hexblade is overused, and so Warlocks fall into the same category as Sorcerer and Wizard because of that choice. So the ones that stand out are Artificer, Barbarian, Cleric, Monk, and Fighter. Now out of those, I want to make sure I have melee, and I want my melee to be good. So I'm going to discount Artificer. I'm actually surprised at how well the Monk is standing out here. We have close range, we have decent range with a short bow. With unarmored defense, we're gonna probably have a decent AC because everyone's not getting their most efficient armor, we're getting our starting armor. Monks actually kind of go up because of that, because we're not competing with 20 AC. We're competing with something closer to 15, 16 AC. I also like the idea of optionality, something that it's like, okay, there's big moments. I do like the idea of spells, and the spellcaster that stands out to me for this build is the Cleric. As much as I like the Cleric on the combat side of things, I'm not liking it for the flavor and for the skill side of things, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that one off, which means we have no spellcasters on our list anymore. So it's really coming down to Barbarian, who I don't really like their flavor with it either, but it's either gonna be a Fighter or it's going to be a Monk. The Fighter is going to have the advantage of a fighting style, which is a pretty big boost right off the gate. Monk has the advantage of a bonus action attack. But I think ultimately what it's coming down to is the flavor profile, and I'm thinking that a Monk Investigator is actually pretty cool. So I think I'm going with Monk for this build. Now that we have our class, it's time to choose our lineage. Now, because we're level 1, we're really not making that many build decisions throughout. It's really our class and our lineage, and that about takes care of our build. So something that stands out to me is Dragonborn. Dragonborn is going to give us an option for mobs, crowds. We can hit multiple enemies with our breath weapon attack. But it does have the weakness of us not having dark vision, which I think as an investigator is going to be really important. So let's explore some of these other lineages. Looking at Dwarf, right away I like the flavor. I haven't even thought about the mechanics yet, but just the idea of this Dwarven Investigator Monk guy, I'm really liking how that flavor is coming together. That excites me. I just think it looks cool. Digging a little bit deeper, the +2/+2 that a mountain dwarf can give is pretty dang good with a monk, because we definitely want high wisdom and high dexterity. So if we're doing something like point buy and we're using Tasha's to allow us to put those points wherever we want, that can be quite strong. They have the great dark vision to boot, but we're really going to struggle against crowds if we run into them. But I think that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I think this dwarf monk just sounds really cool to me, and so I'm going to go ahead and move forward with it. So we're going to be a mountain dwarf. Next up is I'm going to roll for our stats, which I'm going to be doing on screen. Our first roll is 14. Our second roll is 12. Third is 15. Fourth is 16. Pretty dang good. Fifth is 10. That's going to be 16. So we had 2 16s and a 15. All right, so that's better than average. So as far as our stats go, dumping strength for 10. Dexterity is going to be 16 off the gate, but it's going to go to 18 because I'm putting my dwarven skills in that direction. For our constitution, I'm going to go 15. For our intelligence, I'm going to actually put as much as I can in there, 14. For wisdom, I'm going to put 16. And for charisma, we're going to go 12. So we probably do have to interact with people. And that wisdom 16 is also going to go to 18. So that's a pretty strong start for a monk because our AC is going to be 18 right off the gate. So I think going monk was actually the right move because we're going to have a better AC, better dexterity for our saves, better wisdom for our saves as well. So I think monk was actually a fairly strong pick. As for our backgrounds, we're going to be going into Investigator from the Sword Coast Adventure. So in between the skills we take as a monk and our background features, we end up with Insight, History, Stealth, and Investigation, of course. As for our starting equipment, monks, it's pretty easy. You get some darts and then you choose your weapon, basically no armor needed. The weapon I went with is just a bow staff, just our normal staff. It's a good go-to for monks, slightly less good than the spear because the spear can be thrown. But honestly, when I'm thinking about this guy, he's not wielding a spear. He's definitely wielding a bludgeoning weapon. I would prefer the idea of brass knuckles, but I'll just go with the staff for now. If I were to take this character into deeper levels, I'd probably go Way of Mercy. I just feel like it fits the flavor really well. We're an investigator, we know how to patch up some wounds, we know how to knock someone out. And with the stats we rolled, it'd be a pretty efficient character. The next thing I'm going to do is actually have an AI generate the art for me. I'll be using Leonardo.ai for this. This is actually a free software. You basically sign up and they let people in batches, but you put your email in there and probably within 2 weeks they'll give you access, and they give you a bunch of tokens to use for free every day so you can generate your own AI art for free. So the first thing I'm going to do is just browse through the art, find something I like, and then I'll take that and make it my own. One annoying thing about Leonardo.ai is you can't search. So I can't like search for a fantasy guy, I can't search for an old dwarf, you know, you're stuck just kind of going through what they have available. So these are the 3 images I generated that I like. We've got this dude who just looks like a total badass. We have this refined gentleman and this freaking king here. So yeah, overall, really happy with what we produced, although it took a couple tries. I think this guy has got to be my favorite, so let's come up with a name for him. When it comes to naming my characters, I like to take real-world inspiration, so I just did a quick Google search of famous investigators, found one who was named Knapp, K-N-A-P-P, and I just thought the name Investigator Knapp sounded really cool, so that's what we're gonna go with. In an upcoming video, I'm gonna be playing through the first chapter of the Wolves of Langston using Investigator Knapp himself. The Wolves of Langston is a murder mystery solo adventure that you can play before I get to play it if you check out the description down below. Alternatively, you could play along with me, or if you just love solo adventures, consider checking it out. I want to give a big shout out to the Wolves of Langston for sponsoring this video. I'm actually really excited. I've never played a solo campaign before, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity, so thank you for providing it to me, and I hope you guys show them some love. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all of our viewers. We have hit 12,000 subs, and that's a big deal. It really felt like we never get here, and now that we're here, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.